Hello, I'm Jen. Welcome to this shorter asana practice to really target the neck, shoulders, chest, and upper back area to combat some of the effects that we may experience of sitting hunched over a desk or a keyboard or a phone. So for this practice, it would be great if you had something like a strap. You do not have to have a yoga strap. You could use a belt, you could use a dog leash, you could use a longer towel, or maybe better than that would be like a pair of sweatpants or leggings, because we will be using it with the arms a fair distance apart. So if you need to pause to go ahead and grab that, go right ahead. The only other things you might need for this practice would be just something to help you sit comfortably. So if you like to sit on a cushion or a pillow, then you might want to grab that as well. And then we'll go ahead and get started in whatever is that comfortable seat for you. So make any adjustments you need, use any tools you have at your disposal. And then we'll begin to settle in. You could keep your eyes open. You could cast your gaze downward. You could let your eyelids get really heavy. Think about bringing your ears up and over your shoulders. For many of us, that means pulling our ears back. Think about bringing the shoulders over the hips. You might feel the upper abdominals engage a little bit. You don't want to clench, just support. And let your legs and seat be heavy. Take a deep breath in through the nose and exhale out the mouth. 2 more breaths just like that. And then we'll begin with the Om. Deep breath in. Allow your breath to return to whatever its natural rhythm is, whatever the natural pace is. Maybe begin to tune into the sensations that accompany the beginning of the inhale, middle, and the end. And then how does it feel at the beginning of the exhale, in the middle, and the end? And what does it feel like in those pauses, those brief moments between the inhale and the exhale, between the exhale and the inhale? No wrong answer. And if you'd like to turn your awareness and concentration towards an offering or intention or personal prayer, go right ahead. We'll begin this movement practice seated. So if your seat has gotten a little uncomfortable, feel free to adjust. I will be doing that. And go ahead and double check in with your posture again. So ears over shoulders, shoulders over hips, and shoulders relaxed. Let's take a deep breath in. Think about the base of the skull lifting up away from the floor. And as you exhale, tuck your chin down toward your chest. doing our best not to round or arch through the upper back. Again, you may feel those upper abdominal muscles underneath your sternum start to engage to support you right there in the middle. The more you tuck the chin, the more you may feel some stretching in the back of the neck. Try to relax your face, your eyes, your tongue. Let your head get really heavy. And then you could certainly stay right here, or on an inhale, you could roll your right ear towards your right shoulder, trying not to tilt or lean or side bend. And let your head get really heavy over to the right. Now, this may be where you want to be. There are a couple of options you could take for extension of the stretch here. One would be taking that left hand down beside you and just letting the hand get heavy. If you wanted to work with some targeted breathing, you could take the fingertips of the right hand and place them between your left collarbone and your left armpit, fleshy upper pectoral region, and just gently press your fingertips into your upper chest and see if you can feel your breath beneath them. And then let's let that go. Let your chin roll back down towards your chest. Take a pause here. And then again, you could stay here or roll that left ear towards the left shoulder, checking in, trying not to side bend or lean. Can you imagine all the muscles of your face softening down towards the floor? Feel free to take those extensions of the pose, bringing the right fingertips down, letting the hand get heavy. Perhaps bringing the fingers of the left hand to the upper right chest and feeling the breath. And then let that go. Let the chin roll back down towards the chest. And then again, you might like to stay here or take about 3 breaths or so just to move your head and neck, however it might feel nice for you. And then we'll meet stacking the ears back up over the shoulders once again. Inhale, lifting the arms up if your shoulders are okay with that. Let's exhale and side bend to the right. So right hand will come down. This left arm could sweep overhead to the right, and you could bring some movement. If that doesn't feel great in the left shoulder, you could have your left hand down and still find some movement here. Also, maybe what you need is just some stillness with the breath. This is your practice. Take the suggestions that work and leave the ones that don't. On an inhale, let's come back up through center. And then exhale your left hand down beside you. Drop the shoulder and elbow. Again, possibly sweeping that right arm overhead, possibly releasing the arm down. As much or as little movement as you like here. Pardon my sniffling. I'm recording this during peak pollen season. And then let's start to move side to side. So inhale up through center. Exhale over to the right. Inhale up through center. Exhale over to the left. Take a couple more breath cycles coming through center and over to the side at the pace of your breath. And then the next time we go to the left will be the last time. Meeting back up through center one more time. Exhale, release the hands down beside or maybe behind you. Gentle lift of the chest, deep breath in. And exhale, release. Let's find our way to a tabletop position and just do a couple rounds of the cat-cow. Check in with the rest of the spine now that we've spent some time with the neck. And you might like to stay here, or you might like to move into a downward facing dog. Completely up to you. If you opt for a dog pose, again, as much or as little movement as feels right for you. Maybe reaching the hips back, getting some space between your low ribs and your hips, and then some space between your shoulders and your ears. And then as you're ready, we'll walk the feet up to meet the hands, or however it works for you to get into a standing forward fold. Knees are bent. Maybe you've got elbows on your knees. Maybe you have your hands at a waist-high surface. Maybe your hands are on a block. If it's okay for your neck, let your head go. And then we'll bring hands to bent knees, straightening the arms. And we'll come all the way up. Lift the arms overhead if that feels okay for you. And then exhale the hands to heart center. Feel your breath. Good. Now go ahead and grab your strap or strap substitute. Take your feet hip width or maybe a little wider apart, having your toes pointing pretty straight forward, not so much turned out to the side. We'll lift the arms up overhead with your strap between your hands. Now, this may take some experimentation to find the right placement for your hands. We're going to start to move the arms up, back, behind, and then up, over, and forward. Ideally, to really work in the shoulder range of motion, you want to have the hands far enough apart that you don't have to bend the elbow to get through that sticky spot. Just do your best. If you have to bend the elbow, then that's okay. But really concentrate on the movement happening from the shoulder joint. Find the breath pattern that works for you. Relax your jaw. Another tendency that's common is to let the back do the work so that we're rounding and arching. You might try that for one round, but then see if you can keep your torso nice and strong and steady, and then feel how that's different. See if you feel it a little more around the shoulder joint. And then let's bring the strap up overhead, and we'll side bend. Inhale, press up. Exhale, side bend to your right. Let that right hand get really heavy. Again, taking care not to arch or round. Imagine that the entire back of your body is touching a wall. You might let your head go here. Push a little more on your left foot, perhaps. Breathe into the left side of your torso. And then to come out of this, let's engage the left waist muscles on an exhale and come back up through center. And then inhale, reach up. Exhale over to your left. Don't let the low back overarch. Shoulders soft. Let that left hand get heavy. Breathing into the right waist, right ribs. And then on an exhale, engage those right waist muscles to pull you back up through center and release your arms down. Move the shoulders a little bit. And then, again, stay in that sort of comfortable neutral stance. We'll work in a sort of archer's position. There's not a formal name for it, but it's good to work in strengthening the shoulders and the upper back. So, still have the strap between our hands. Left arm reaches straight ahead. We'll pull the right arm back as though we are pulling an arrow back in a bow. Now, when I get here and my right hand is close to my right shoulder, there's a little bit of slack in that strap. So I'm going to move my hands a little closer and get it a bit more taut. So I'm sort of pulling my hands away from one another. Now, a couple things to keep in mind. See if you can have your arms in line with your shoulders. That right elbow may want to droop down. So if we squeeze into the top of the right shoulder, that can help pull it up a bit. Chest is tall, shoulder blades down the back. Another thing that can tend to happen here is a twist to the right. So that right elbow may pull our right shoulder back. See if you can square your shoulders forward and really press through that left hand. Breathe here, get a little tension in that strap. Deep breath into the chest. Maybe an exhale out the mouth. Good, and release. Move your shoulders. Marvel at how heavy your arms are. And then we'll do the other side. So right arm reaches forward. Left elbow pulls up and back. Shoulders down and heavy. Left elbow is not drooping, right? Chest squared forward, chest and hips pointing straight ahead. A little tension between the hands, making sure that we're not letting the back take the brunt of this. We're strengthening our shoulder muscles, strengthening our arms. Ears stacked over shoulders. Breathe here. And release. Move your shoulders, shake them out. And then let's find our way back down to the mat with your strap still nearby. We'll move into Gomukhasana arms with a strap. So even if you can clasp your hands behind your back, I encourage you to experiment using a strap. It can give you just a bit more space, which may seem obvious, but just give it a try. So take your strap in your right hand, reach your right arm up, and then bend that right elbow. Now you could take your left hand and just kind of gently wiggle the elbow over to the midline a little bit. Left hand comes around behind you, like so, and you take the other end of the strap. Now you notice my hands are pretty far apart. That's fine. What I'd like you to tune into is this left shoulder. Sometimes when we creep those hands closer together, it's at the expense of this left shoulder and it's rolling forward. What I'd like you to experiment with is pulling that left shoulder back. That may mean your hands come further apart. but we're creating less strain on those tendons in the front of the shoulder. Back of the neck is long, face and eyes soft. And then release, let that go. Maybe move your shoulders a little bit. Maybe move your head a bit. And then we'll do the other side. So taking that strap in your left hand, left arm reaches up, bending the elbow. Right hand might wiggle the elbow a little bit towards the midline. Right hand comes around behind you, taking the other end of the strap. Check in with that right shoulder. See if you can pull it back a little bit. I also think about the right shoulder blade pressing forward into my rib cage. That's another way to help pull the front of the shoulder back a bit. Relaxing the face and the eyes. Steady breath in and steady breath out. Good. Letting that go. You can set your strap off to the side. And then we'll come on to the belly for a shoulder stretch. Now, if you like to watch first and then come onto the belly or rewind it or whatever, that's totally fine. We'll start on the belly with the right arm extending out perpendicular to your body. And then turn your head to the left so the right side of the face comes down to the mat. And then I'm going to pull my left knee and left elbow towards one another on the floor. So my left inner leg is pointing towards the floor. My left palm and forearm are on the floor. Now, you may already feel a little something in the front of the right shoulder. If it's feeling uncomfortable or like it's too much, you can experiment with bringing your right arm down closer to your body. If you have a high degree of range of motion in your shoulder joint and you know you'd like a bit more, you can experiment with bringing the right arm up at more of an angle, like you're a letter Y instead of a letter T. You might creep crawl your right fingers a little further away from your body and then let your chest soften. And this could be enough in the front of your right shoulder. If you'd like to experiment with a bit more intense of a stretch, if this is feeling okay, you could place your left hand flat on the floor and start to roll onto the right side of the body and then place your left foot flat on the floor. So now my left elbow and left knee are pointing towards the ceiling. And then you might rock a little bit here. And if this is still feeling good for you and you want to dial it up a bit more, you could pick your left foot up and bring those toes back behind you. Maybe even bringing the left arm back behind you. Check in with your breathing. Should be smooth and steady. And then let's come all the way out of that and we'll go to the other side. So back on the belly, left arm extends out to the left, head turns to the right, and we'll bring the left knee and elbow towards one another on the floor or mat, like if you're going to sleep on your belly. You can experiment with the placement of your left hand and arm. Maybe it goes down closer to your body. Maybe it goes more up like a letter Y. Further up is more intense, further down is less intense, generally speaking. Maybe an exhale out the mouth, really let your chest soften downward. And just like on the first side, you've got options. And remember that your needs for one shoulder may be different than the other. So if this side Could use a little more intensity. Palm comes flat, and we start to push into that hand to maybe roll a bit onto the long left side of the body. Maybe the right foot comes flat as well. You could rock a little bit. And if a bit more is called for, you could pick up that right foot, drop it back behind you. Maybe right arm comes back behind you. Breathing into the front of the chest, maybe remembering that targeted breathing exercise we did at the beginning. Breathing into the upper chest, between the shoulders, collarbones, and armpits. And then let's let that go. Coming back onto the belly. And let's press back onto hands and knees and take a couple rounds of cat-cow. And we'll find our way onto the back for a bridge pose. Now I'm going to use a block for a supported bridge. If you're feeling more on the energetic side, you're welcome to not use a block, and I'll give you some tips for doing that. But if you are using a block like I am, you would start with feet flat, parallel. That's regardless of block or not. And then we'll press into the feet to lift the hips up. If you're using that block, sliding it underneath your sacrum, which is pretty close to the tailbone. We don't want to have it in that lumbar curve and over accentuate our low back curve. And if you've got the block, you could have your arms just down by your side or even resting on your torso if that feels nice. If you want to work without a block, it's a bit more of an active pose. We're engaging the glutes. You can think about reaching your tailbone in the direction of the backs of your knees. So there's a pelvic tilt up and forward in the tailbone here. Not letting the knees flop apart, not letting them fall together. Maybe wiggling your shoulder blades towards your spine a little bit. Breathing, making sure you're using the entire surface of each foot to support you. Let's take 2 more breaths here. And then engage the glutes, lift the hips just a bit more, and then we'll all release the hips back down to the mat and maybe hug your knees in towards your chest. If it would feel nice to pick your torso and shoulders up and hug into a little ball, you could do that. Maybe just roll a bit, letting the floor massage the entire spine. And then let that go. We'll come lying back for just a brief shavasana, little relaxation. You can let your hands rest on your torso or let your arms come down beside you, feet fall open. If you really feel your shoulder blades poking down, maybe wiggle them towards the spine a little bit. Let your chest roll open. Take a deep breath in through the nose and exhale out the mouth. And let your body soften towards the floor. Every breath getting softer and heavier. Letting gravity take over more and more. And allow a few moments to rest. You notice the mind wandering. Find your way back to your breath. Now slowly begin to find your way back to your body. Maybe bringing a little movement to your fingers and toes. Maybe taking a deep breath. Maybe taking a deep, long stretch. And if it works for you and you would like to remain reclining for a few more breaths, that's fine. Or you could join me in coming upright. Take a few moments here, perhaps observing any effects of the practice, perhaps just resting with your breath. Let's inhale. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. May all beings everywhere be free from suffering. Thank you so much for taking time to take care of yourself and for sharing your practice with me today. Om Shanti.